enjoy ourselves. I usually like all these talks before the live show happens.
I know, right? In fact, even our conversation just now was a very good one. Like it's already a coaching sessions that talks about coaching, talks about MCO.
Oh, I know, right? I mean, the one thing that a lot of people don't get to see is the behind the scenes. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we are already live, and I just want to let everyone here know, those of you here who are early or those of you here who are on time, I just want to recognize each and every one of you here because it is a Saturday morning. We all can just chill. And I can tell you, if it wasn't for this session and if it wasn't for us wanting to get together, both Edward and I would actually just sit down and chill. We have our
it's a very good weather as well to chill, right?
Oh yes. I woke up this morning and I felt like, oh man, I think I could sleep in now.
Yeah. My biological clock just kicked in. I wake up at 7 a.m. anyway. So.
Oh wow. Are you a morning person?
I am a morning person. So I tend to sleep very early, about 11, max 12. So yesterday I slept kind of late to rush on some work. But my biological clock is still kicks in. It's still 7 a.m.
That happens with morning people. I've observed that quite a fair bit of time as well. I'm a night person, so it's a little bit harder. My inspiration comes towards the evening. Or the later part of the day. Right.
Yes. I mean, good that you know your flow. Actually, that's very important.
Yes. I think it's good to recognize and not just try to be like everyone else. Not everyone is a morning person. Not everyone is a night person. Not everyone can be productive from start to the end. That's something that we just have to really recognize. And speaking about recognizing, for those of you here who are with us, and again, I want to say that it's a great morning because you are here with us. You're here to learn about something which is considered a very heavy topic, whether it's a working world, whether it's at home as well. It's not something that people usually want to talk about. And if you're here, I just want to congratulate you. Please drop a hello, drop a hi in the comment section so that we know that you're here. We want to actually just give you a shout out as well. And we want to make this a really light, easy, and a fun conversation around a heavy topic because we seriously play and we can playfully be serious.
I like that tagline.
That's not my original tagline. That was someone else's, but I like it anyways.
Yep.
Right. So comment hi if you're with us. We'll definitely be kickstarting it right now because what we want to do is just to make this entire session really on the topic itself. And if you have any questions along the way, please don't hesitate to put your questions in. I have a series of questions. If those resonate with you, let me know in the comments along the way as well, because these are questions that I picked up from friends and my personal questions that I would love to get insights from Edward. And for those of you here who don't know Edward, I'm not going to introduce him too much. I'm going to let him do the introduction so that you can hear from him personally. Right, so let's get it started. Edward, to you. Can you give us an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeffro. So the first thing is, of course, good morning. Good morning to all the audience. It's a Saturday morning, and I hope you're going to have a good weekend and a long over weekend as well, right? Monday is also a public holiday to most of us. Edward here. Okay, my name is Edward, and I'm a positive psychology coach. So, what my background is I personally focus on positive psychology and also coaching psychology. So, a lot of times when we talk about psychology, right, Jeffro, if I were to ask you, your first impression of psychology, what's that?
Wow, first impression of psychology. This is such a heavy question because when I first heard about it, I always thought that it had something to do with problems. People problem, then you must go and find a psychologist.
Correct. So a lot of times when we talk about psychology, right, it's always on that perspective, on the realm of a bit more negative. You talk about psychological disorder, you talk about anxiety disorder, you talk about depression, especially at this moment where we talk about mental health, and mental health is being very prevalent, right? So these are some of the languages that people tend to put on psychology. So, and it's not wrong, psychology flourishing during that time when it was World War II, where people need that particular service. That's when you talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of these sort of language that you see post-World War II. But we are reaching in a stage or in a civilization or in an era whereby war is not something that we go through so much. It's more like, okay, if that's the case, right, how can we make our society more flourish, better in a sense? So that is the so-called core foundation or core understanding or core our belief as all the people who practice positive psychology. So that is the theoretical part. And how can we actually help people to flourish? There's a lot of ways to do that. Certain people do it in a consulting way, certain people do it in a therapy way, and I do it on a coaching so-called route. So combining on that, me as the senior consultant for Ability International, I also do consulting work. My background is full blast. Ever since my first job is on learning and development, training, facilitating, coaching, team coaching, consulting work, assessor as well. So you name it, it's always on the realm of L&D. So that it's my background, Jeffro.
Wow. And how do you get started? I mean, as in, I know a lot of people, they get started because they're interested. Were you already interested in this line that you're working on?
I actually had a very good or interesting introduction to coaching. I started as a sports coach. I started as a gymnastic coach actually. But I started quite late. I started probably on my uni time, talking about a good 12, 13 years ago. And all my target audience or my coaches, right, are young kids. You're talking about 4 years old to 8 years old kids. You teach them how to point their toe, be on the ring, be on the bar, ensuring that they are following your steps, doing handstands. So I had a great time on that, and I realized that the kids loved me, the parents loved me more as well, and I just cannot find this element. So I went into as a trainer, starting from a training executive. So be a trainer, create my own content, develop my own management training. So get into strategic perspective. And I realized that as much as when we talk about training, right, allow me to say that if you have trainers in the house as well, or in this particular conversation as well, it's always touch and go. So it's a 2 days. Me as a trainer, I always ask people, how much can you change someone or transform someone in 2 days? You will learn something new, but the problem is that how much can you apply? Or the next thing is that if even when we talk about mindset, right, like for example communication classes or positive mindset classes, right, 2 days, if I could change your mindset, right, I'm better than your parents and probably some of I'm serious,
Yes.
your spouse will probably take years to ask you to, put back your clothes into the right laundry bag. 2 days might probably just give you awareness. So coaching itself is a process whereby it's a journey. It's just beyond a 2-day training, but that's a consecutive following up. And that's when I started to get myself more into coaching, and I realized that in order to do so, I want to jump really in, and I took a master in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology back in London, UK. That was a couple of years back, and the whole experience is amazing. That particular course is actually one of the pioneer in the world. We probably hear a lot of people doing coaching psychology, but positive psychology is probably not something that a lot of people will be very familiar with. So combining these two and make it so mouthful that most of the time I will occasionally I bite my tongue just to pronounce my masters, right? Give me a different perspective. We have people coming from the consulting firms, the Boston's, the Accentures. You have people that comes from a therapy perspective. You have educator, and then you have coaches like us. So it gives a very good, rich spectrum and also rich understanding on how the application is. Because in the end, it's the application that counts.
Oh, definitely. I mean, regardless of whatever it is, right? Not just coaching. It's just not parenting, leadership, or anything. You can learn a ton of things, but if you don't even apply a single thing, nothing matters.
But it's true, right? I mean, Jeffro, you probably agree. We both probably read a lot, either from a book or from articles. But if I were to ask, right, how do you realize that you actually just skim through a lot of things, but probably you don't really understand, or you can't memorize, or you can't comprehend a lot of the content? That happens to a lot of us on social media as well.
True. Well, I have to echo that because although I read a lot of things, and I just want to be honest with every one of you, I don't read a ton of books. I can tell you this. I find it very difficult to read a ton of books simply because each book has so much content in it. And if we really go and practice and do it right, I don't think anyone can actually read one book a week and then tell you that I know everything and I practice. So it takes me a while. But like what Edward has mentioned, I typically will go for key things that I can actually go and apply. So in any books or any articles that I read, I may not read every single word per se, but I would actually pick out the things that I want and I will actually use. That being said, sometimes I actually do skip 1 or 2 pages because I find that I cannot relate to the story, and no matter how I try to read it, I find that it's a little bit hard to absorb. So I do skip 1 or 2. That doesn't mean I don't like it. I just cannot relate to that.
Which you highlight a very important point in coaching. A lot of times, right? There's so many. Let's put it this way: there's so many coaches in the market. So a lot of times, where of course ICF is the body that governs all. The ring that rules the whole everyone. But the actual coaching sessions to those who would want to know more about coaching or want to differentiate between a coaching or a trainer or a consultant or a mentor, right? Coaches always be the mentor sparring partner. So imagine yourself being in the gym, the coaches will guide you on how to lift that particular dumbbells, for example, or do the burpees. But the coach are not supposed to do it for you because the coach doesn't need the muscles. The coachee needs it, or the client needs it. So in that case, you're absolutely right. Sometimes, right, I have coaches that comes in and say that, look, that's so overwhelming, especially during MCO time. A lot of things are happening at the same time. It's a black swan phenomenon. People have never experienced this. You probably have maybe a mini lockdown or a crisis in one particular country, but a global lockdown, you're talking about literally billions of people are being locked. And that is something that's scary. Some SMEs are absolutely not ready to go for working from home. They are still on a paper manual way of doing things, whereby now they are being stripped off from their workplace, and I can't even check my I can't even check my data, or can't check even my information. So when you say something like, for example, even reading a book, you don't have to go through everything. There are certain pages or certain contents that is not too relevant to you, or at this moment you skip that. So that's what coaches helps to do as well. Prioritizations. We do reflections. We highlight what are some of your strengths, some of your core important resources that you have, and then you do according to your own capability, competency. If you were to ask me, that would be a definition of a coach. Jeffro, how about you? You as a coach as well, right? What's your definition of coach?
I think there are many perspectives. And first thing, before I go into that, I do notice we have quite a number of audience here. I want to recognize all of you here first before I give my perspective. And apologies for that. It's not that I want to give a cliffhanger. But for those of you here who are with us, drop a hello. Say hi to us. I want to give you a shout out as well because, again, on a Saturday morning, it's amazing to have you with us here on this kind of a topic. And I love this topic, and I'm so happy that I have Edward here to even talk together on this topic. We have Logan who says hi. Hi, Logan.
Hi, Logan.
And for the rest of you here, don't be shy. Say hello. And if you have any questions, any pressing questions that you want to address, you want us to give you insights on, please do that. That would be simply amazing. We have Siti Zulaika saying hi as well. Please let's say hi to Siti Zulaika. Thank you for joining us. Let me come back to this topic. As a coach, how do I define it? I define a coach like someone to help you get an answer. Not to give you an answer, not to do the action for you. Doing the action for you is your employee or someone you hire. But a coach is someone who gives you different perspective and will really press you. You don't want a coach who's going to pamper you all the time. If you want to have that, you can go and find a life partner. That one, that person will pamper you. But you
Or your
want a coach,
BFF, right? Your BFF, right?
yeah, exactly. Because you want a coach who really tells you the truth. And I think here's how powerful a coach is. When you engage the right person will find the better ways to doing things. So will help you outline what are the things that you're already doing. How can you fast forward that progress and help you face reality? And what I mean by reality is often as a human, everyone here can relate to it. We think that we want to do this, and everything. But the truth is, in 24 hours and the short attention span that we have, we can only do so much. So we tend to put up such a heavy expectation. And a coach's job is when they identify something like that, they will smack that reality and say, hey, you know what? Actually, you can only do 3 things. Based on what you say, I think your capacity is here. I may not be entirely correct, but it is worth taking a look again. So it helps you draw back to what you can really do. And then from there, go push up and up and up again. Not just leap a mountain just because you think it's nice. And that's
I definitely echo, right,
yeah.
Jeff. Sorry to jump in just
No
before I
worries.
forget my thoughts. Right? So a lot of times, right, I like your concept of talking about reality check. Making sure that hey, this is the resources you have. Right? Good to have big dreams, right? But let's also work on that because the biggest difference between like what you say, the reason why coaches can be challenging or supposed to be to a certain extent being challenging is because the difference between a therapy and a coach as well. So allow me to be a bit more technical on this part because I realize that it's very crucial for you, especially for those who yet to have any exposure to coaching. Do find this particular definition or have this in your back of mind when you are looking for a coach. Coaches are not just entirely supposed to make you feel good. I think you're absolutely right, Jeffro. So the difference between a lot of times when you talk about your BFF or your therapist or your mentor, a coach ultimate goal is to help you, okay, to assist you, to be your mentor sparring partner in order for you to do 2 things. First is to generate your awareness. You know what's your resources, you know what's your strength, what are some of the things that you are clearer in terms of what you want to do. And the second thing is help you to put on a good or a better roadmap in order for you to reach that. So a goal of a coaching session towards the end, it's always about coming out with an action plan. And hence, coaches will come in with a question that's like, okay, you've been talking about this. What is your commitment? How would you take forward from that? What would you attempt to do by the end of the session? How confident are you to do that? So these are the questions that it sounds challenging to you, like I told you I just want to do it. I want to do it, but as a coach, I will come in, right? Jeffrey, you probably agree. As a coach, I'm coming. You say you want to do it, and then at the second session you are not doing it. So I'm curious. What's in between that will make you do it better? So what's stopping you, for example? So these are some of the questions requires you as a coachee to be really transparent and to put down the ego as well. To know that your coach intention is to actually support you to reach your goal. So that's some of the tech. I mean, if you go deeper to that, to some of you, if you were to approach a coach, right, and you realize that, oh, why am my coach challenging me? Those some of the things that you probably want to take note as well.
Yeah. Oh wow. That is so good, right? On point, really, Edward. And thank you for bringing it up. We have a couple of more friends who are saying hi. We have
Nice.
Michelle Saw, and we have Sui, who is also saying hi to us. Edward, say hi to our friends. Right. Okay. So first of all, I just want to address to all of my friends here. This particular Facebook Live may have certain delays because I've observed internet issues and stuff. So if you're seeing a little bit delay or we're addressing to you in a delayed fashion, I apologize to that. It's a technology issue. I wish I can change that thing, but then again, we are only humans. I will, whatever that you're writing here, I will be addressing one by one, but along the way, because we have such an interesting content today and the topic. There's so much to cover. Even on this part itself, I think that there's been such a big confusion about what are the differences between coach, therapist, trainer, consultant, and all that. And Edward has just brilliantly mentioned about one thing. If it's something that we can look at to differentiate all of this profession, is to see what is the outcome that you will get. So as a therapist, what I've heard from Edward, if I can even summarize that, a therapist is to help you solve that problem, right? So is to look into the past, is to really see what is that issue, solve that. Now, a trainer is to give you a knowledge, a skill. I just transfer it. You apply, don't apply, that one up to you. I pass it to you. A coach helps you to have an action plan and keeps you accountable depending on how you engage your coach. But at the end of the day, the outcome is you know what to do. These are the things that you want to do. And the coach is to help you develop such clarity, because a lot of people like to do this. What do you want in life? I want to be rich. I want to be richer. I want to be better. I want to be healthier. But what is the definition of healthier, richer, or better? Like, how do you measure? That's where a coach comes in and say, right, okay, is 10 cent going to make you richer? Because I can give you 10 cent right now. We settle that goal, right? Or what is exactly that thing? Because if you don't know that thing, you'll often find yourself after the session, right? Yes, I want to do this. And then, okay, so what?
So Jeffro, you actually said a very, very, you just literally speak out of my mind, Another one very clear distinction is actually about the timeline. Therapists always talks or priorities, right, have a higher tendency to focus on the past to solve the root cause, which is understandable, very important, because those are your trigger points. Coaches, right, are absolutely clear the fact that while we want to focus on the past, in the end, it's about moving forward, like what you say, so what can you do? You summarize it very well. That is an absolutely good timeline as well. So there are people who come in and say that, Ella, if that's the case, right, do coaches actually talk to our pastors? I'm a practitioner of solution-focused coaching. So solution-focused coaching always talks, we have a couple of assumptions, but one of the assumptions that we always believe in, or it's in my blood, right? It's when we talk about, the answer of your solution doesn't have to come from a root cause. It could be what you want in terms of a vision. I'll give you an example. For example, right, if you are someone who's going to try a new project, which either there's no resources and whatnot, right? Where is that resources, or where are some of the past successful case studies that you can refer to? Okay, that's the first point. The second point is that, let's just say that now we go to a coaching, for example, a case study in my sense, right? Because I have been coaching quite a fair bit, especially on a lot of management level. A lot of time it's not about the work. You'll be very surprised that when they come to you, when they talk about a working performance, gradually, if you go deeper, right, it's always about the emotion. It's about, I don't really enjoy working with them, or I started to lose purpose. I actually want to quit. It's my family issue. So if I were to ask you, right, how deep can you go into that particular part? Like, for example, my wife is the issue lah. So instead of focusing on drilling into that, right, which is, there are certain needs for a coach to understand that, but in the end, you want a solution. As a coach, you want to move forward. So instead of saying that, what do you hate, or what's wrong with your wife, a more unrefined question, what's wrong with your wife, right? Ask about that. Okay, what makes you still stay strong at this moment? What keeps you motivated to come to work? You say things are very bad, you say that, I want to quit my job. So reverse it, ask from a different perspective, why are you still here? Why are you still motivated? And that's when we start to think about, actually, you are right. You might say that I've been complaining about wanting to leave, but I'm still here. And when I'm still here, you will be very surprised. A lot of times they will say that it's actually about friends, their colleague. And that's when you go deeper. Okay, if that's the case, right, since colleague is one of the core factor that makes you motivated to stay here, or still keeps you committed to be here, right? What can you do more? And that's when you look at the solution. So do we drill deeper into that? Not necessary, if you were to ask me.
True. I really agree on that. Like, I cannot say how much I want to just nod my head profusely on that point, right? Because I think while it's good to talk about the problems itself, I don't like this, I I find this problematic, I find this frustrating. There is always a key point why people are here. And you brought up these two questions, which I'm putting on screen, right? Why are you still here and what keeps you going on? And essentially, whether it's at home or at office, I find this so relevant because that gives us the real main reason and a driving force. It's not so much about the problem, because I think people can get very comfortable with problems at the end of the day. But there is a driving force, or there's a keeping force. In some cases, like you mentioned, people stay at work because of the friendship, of the atmosphere that they really enjoy, or maybe it's just comfortable because of the distance, the work itself, they're familiar. They don't want to go outside and restart that whole thing again. So that becomes a stronger point to stay and to face that reality that they have. What keeps you going as well? That's interesting, because when I ask this, it helps people to think forward moving on. So what keeps me going on? I think if this culture is good, if my friends are here, I'll continue being here. But if one day they all go, I will also go. I mean, I don't know about those of you here with us, the audience, can you relate to this? But I've heard of this so many times in my career as a corporate consultant, where I ask my friends if they're not happy why they're here, and they tell me this, friends, the way we treat one another, and only that person will consider leaving if all of us leave, or if more than half of us leave, because there's no motivation already. Yeah.
So correct, Jeffro. So when you talk about, I believe there are some managers on our session as well. So yeah, when your colleague comes in and then talk about one particular concern and whatnot, you do have to know that it's a concern to them. It's true, but always goes back to the question. Don't ask them, oh, what's wrong? You can ask them, because I hear a lot of people. Well, I don't know whether you agree or not, Jeffro. You can probably just come in and agree to disagree with me, right? A lot of times when the current generation, for example, is always being labeled as a job hopper. Okay. Let's put it this way, Let's put it this way. Yeah, I am controversial. It's true, right? It's kind of like an open secret, dirty open secret. And a lot of times, people or the managers are just focusing on why they leave. Do we also have a conversation on focusing on those who are still here? The question, what keeps you here? What still motivates you to come to work today? And getting that kind of numbers or that kind of data or that kind of reasons, right, probably are better in getting why people are leaving, because those are the resources that you have and you already have. So it requires a significantly less approach or effort to actually enhance that particular process.
I fully agree. I really agree on this. I think people are so focused on why you're leaving. They talk about having exit interviews in companies, right? Although let's be really honest, not many companies actually execute it really well. Say only got exit interview but whether got interview and something to do with that, I leave it to a different topic and matter. But you brought up a very strong point. People don't ask people who are there why you are staying. What keeps you coming to work? And I find that if people actually ask questions like this, they would have so much more information and they'll be able to act on it, because you can continue doing the good things because you're already doing it. You don't have to go and fix it.
Exactly. And that's why when we go back to the MCO period, right, when we talk about remote coaching, right, one of the biggest concerns that, again, one of the biggest pros, right, of being in a company for a lot of people who stay in a company is actually about the relationship. The pantry talk, the one that go lunch together, or after work, like, wait, happy hour or stuck in the jam anyway, right? Go get something to drink or get something to eat. Then you really what we call choy soy, aka blow water, just lepak je, just cakap je kan, tak perlu worry about anything kan. So when MCO happens, right, that doesn't take place. And like you're not humans, we need that physical touch or even physical proximity when people are in front of us. Proximity will be the actual word. So that's why when people talk about social distancing, I believe that the actual word should be physical distancing. I think socially we get better. There are more, for example, the whole as a trainer, right, the whole training RAM, the L&D RAM, if you go LinkedIn as well, there's so many people giving back, people having these sessions. For example, our session, Jeffro, thank you so much for having me on Saturday morning just to do this on your on a free view. There's no obligation for you to do this, but you want to give it back. You want people to know that, hey, there's a support during MCO. I see more and more people taking more effort to contribute to social cause, especially for in the medical perspective, education perspective. We started to pay more attention on social enterprise, for example, those who in needs, the B40s. And at this moment, right, I think as a positive psychology practitioner, the MCO actually makes us tighter in a sense that we are better well connected. Probably some of you, right, you started to call people that you haven't called for months, if not years, or probably these are the very close friends that you talk all the time. But how often you pick up a phone that's not work related in terms of colleague and talk about, hey, how's life? How's your life being started? Because everyone shares a common global experience. I'm trying to be neutral. It's not just a pandemic, but it's also an experience. And this will be a global history events that we will be talking about for many, many years to come.
True. In fact, I think this is only going to be I hope that this is the only event in our lifetimes that will actually bring all of us together, right? That we have something common to talk about other than the weather.
And sudah makan ke belum ya? Sekolah
Exactly. Oh right? Man.
Right. So what Ability International did previously, it's what we call an initiative called Coach It Forward, where we provide a complement 1 hour coaching sessions to those who are on a corporate perspective. Then after that, extension to hospitals as well. That was a very interesting initiative. But some of the things that I actually want to share will be two different perspectives. Hear me out, right? Jeffro, you probably have a lot of experience at that, and our live audience, please chip in as well. Okay, let's have a very good engaging conversation. You as a manager, your biggest concern during MCO, during lockdown, or during remote session, it's when you don't know whether they are doing what they need to do. There's so less of control from your side. So you can only have that fate, literally fate. It might not be evidence-based, it could be just fate that they will be doing something at home, and whether or not they are on their pajamas, but they will get their work done, and you are able to call them. Okay, so for you to verify and ensuring that the stress is being better handled in terms of giving the task, managers at this moment, especially to solely based on the conversations that I have with all my managers in the coaching sessions, right, they tend to give additional work. They want to react as well. Okay, I would say react, not a respond, because we react first. That's the time that, let's just put it this way, there's no case studies, there's no past history that we can refer to. There's nothing to refer to. So that's the time when managers say, you know what, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. So you just keep bombarding a lot of things, right, to your subordinates. Okay, your subordinates from a different perspective, yeah. Your subordinates realize that the workload doubles. They have from maybe 2 meetings to now 4, 5 Zoom meetings. And I mind you, to those who go for Zoom meeting is very tiring.
Oh, yes.
It's very draining. And I'll share with you later from a psychological perspective why. So you have a group of managers that keep giving things to ensure that they are performing and ensuring that, okay, I'm safe there because they are doing things. And I have a bunch of junior staff, right, that struggles to deliver because it's so many new things coming in, and let's just put it this way, these two groups of people, right, are probably sharing very similar background as well. You probably work in your dining table. Some of you are probably, that's the reason why you see on a Zoom screen, right, or Zoom conversation, most of us are not turning on our cameras. I have experienced, that we are not empathetic enough, making assumptions that, hey, of course, as trainers or as coaches, we want them to turn on the screen. But I had a very interesting conversations that realized that we are not empathetic enough. That the fact that, some of them, they are just renting a room. My room, it's not something that I want to show with my colleague,
True.
For example, I have parents, that they are working from dining room because they need to look at the kids. their kids are on their cartoon. And I'm looking at my kids while working. And if I'm turning on the camera, I don't know where should I focus on. So these are some of the things that managers might just overlook because it's a small thing. For
Yes.
example, for some of the moms, right, you need to cook in between. Lucky or not, you have to prepare lunch, right, for your kids. Okay, you still have to do your housework, probably laundry, work. And the harder part will be Puasa month, when Puasa month comes in as well. So we as sometimes we just making assumptions that just because someone is working from home, they will be in front of their laptop all the time. And the junior staff or the subordinates will find it very struggle. Okay, can I go to toilet? Or can I just go out? Because they have to go out and get something as well. Or probably just at least go to the security guard and get the food, So that's the time they will be very tense. Their phones are ringing all the time. Their laptops are buzzing all the time. So that are some of the stress, right, that remote staffs are facing. And when we talk about coaching, right, you'll be very surprised. A lot of people comes in and talk about how to work efficiently during MCO, during a remote time. You see, if you're talking about from the trend, right, the first week or second week of MCO, where people are learning how to work from home, people want to know how to work productively. People want to know how to work efficiently. People want to know that how can I be better time manage, see exactly what you have in mind, right? Last time it just stay in the room, do your work, you chill. Jeffro, you have your experience working from home prior to this as well, right? So you
Yes.
realize that, well, it's going to be a good experience. Your first week, yes, but after a while, you realize that either you feel lethargic, okay, because facing laptop, let's put this way, is tiring all the time. So gradually, my conversation as a coach, right, focus more on the emotion stuff. We talk about emotion, not just mental health related, but emotion. For example, I actually feel stressed. I don't know whether I still have my job after MCO. I don't know whether PM give a quite a last minute notification all the time before his press conference. It's probably a day or less than 24 hours in advance. And if you are from an HR perspective, right, gosh, that particular notes, right, will probably make me stand by the whole day, So that are so are stress and so are a lot of factors that is not that's not, it's unpredictable. It's volatile. You talk about VUCA, and this is VUCA, my friend. VUCA globally, VUCA for everyone.
Yeah. Let me address a couple of things here as well.
Yes.
So I think first thing for our audience who has said hi, we want to say hi back to you. We have concrete Sangpet. I hope I'm actually pronouncing that right because I'm not very familiar with names like that. So concrete saying hi, Victoria saying hello. Michelle Saw is asking, how's life, Edward?
How's your life back in the south, my friend? It's been a while. Yeah, I'm definitely doing well. I guess that working as a coach, having a very strong team, and also very familiar with working remotely helps. And yeah, please, it's been a while, Michelle. Please text me and find me.
And
Sorry,
no worries. I mean, again, this is a very casual thing. So I hope that my friends here or Edward's friends who are with us, drop a hello, say hi, comment, share your thoughts about what we have been sharing. Or if you have just only joined us, or if you have any questions, just put them out so that we can also talk. There are a lot of things that we have already covered without even me asking, by the way. So I love conversations like this because it goes with the flow. And one thing I want to also point out, or before I say that, my friend Wong KY was actually saying hi to us. So I'm going to say hello. Right. So some things I want to point out, what Edward say really, really clear earlier was, let's take a step back and see how everyone is actually looking. And this applies not just for coaches, this applies not for trainers, but everyone at workplace. Like it or not, some of us here are working from home. And if you're working from home, like what I would say, either you're renting a room, you're living with a spouse, you have a newborn, or you're with your parents or parents-in-law, a little bit tougher with in-laws.
I know.
Yeah. or generally anywhere. There are so many circumstances that are very different. When we come to office, we know how it is like. because it's already a controlled environment. But when you're at home, so many things can happen. I've had that personal experience. My aircon crashed, my router didn't work, my mobile data is just not working. And for those of you here who are Malaysians, you probably can even relate to this. Your mobile phone says 4G plus, you're happy about it, but the reception bar only 2. 2 out of 5, you know.
So where are the free 1 gig data every day, right? Where does it go to? Right?
I have no idea, right? So even these are the things that we have to also consider. And why are we talking about this when the topic is about coaching? Let me just quickly come back to that. I believe that anyone can be a coach. You don't have to have a title. Okay, nice if you have a title from the International Certified Coaches Federation, right? You can be a certified coach, but you don't have to be a certified coach to be a coach to your friend or to your colleagues or to a family member. You don't have to. You don't have to have all these credentials, because really coaching is a skill. Coaching is something that all of us here can do. And I want to really get your thoughts about this, Edward. What do you think about that?
You are absolutely right. No, I think a lot of people, even on the ICF competency, right, it's always about being able to ask the right question, or so-called the question, but the question is targeted in order for you to be curious about that particular person. And the second one is just to be a listener. So we are always an echo device where when they share things, we become as less biased as possible. So for some of you here, you are already doing something like that. You are already a great listener. You ask good questions and people enjoy speaking to you, and you're not being judgmental. So these are some of the core competency as a coach. And Jeffro, I absolutely agree on that.
Yeah, right. So we talk about, can anyone be a coach? I think yes. And the reason why I say this is because some years ago when I met some of the coaches in a event itself, I asked this question as well. Can anyone be a coach? Or do we need to go through a certification program? Now, let me just share this perspective for those of you here. You go through a certification program or you go through a training and all that, that is just to have a formal education process, like how we go to school, how we go and get our degrees and stuff, because only through that you know a framework. Now, can you still do that without going through? Yes. Essentially, we have actually been someone's coach throughout our lives, at least one time, where Edward has just pointed out, you listen to a friend. Listening is a core skill. And if you do that well enough, you can actually be at the same competency level as some of the certified coaches if you are a great listener. Now, the other thing is, do you give great advice? So there are two perspectives on this. I realize that some coaches can give advice. Some coaches, they don't give advice. And this is something that we'll talk about, because there has been a question in the working world, right? Why do we need coaches if the coaches only ask questions, don't give answers? Right?
You're right.
Yeah, and I realized this, that anyone can be a coach, in the sense where you just need to help someone to realize something different, a different perspective. As long as you're able to provide that, that's already another skill of a coach. And the list goes long. We're not here to talk about like how to be a coach, but we're just saying that anyone here can be a coach. And if you're wondering whether you're qualified enough, just look back. Was there a time you helped someone? Was there a time that you heard someone out? Was there a time that you played a significant role in someone's growth? Mm-hmm. All these are essentially the stepping stones to become a coach. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be a coach. I'm just saying that you can.
So I totally agree about that particular part, right? Especially how you say everyone can be a coach, but just you don't have to. The competence is something, if you were to ask me, it's good to have as a person, not just as a coach. Being a great listener, asking great questions, being very critical in terms of your thoughts, and for example, very aware of being present in front of someone. It's a competency as a being. That would be great as well. But again, I think one part that I really want to challenge you a bit on that, right, Jeffro, it will be the thoughts of me as a coach, especially as a practitioner, right? I always believe that coaches will really minimize, if not zero, sharing in terms of suggestion. I'll share with you why. Reason being is because asking questions provide a platform for the coachee to share their own story from their own narrative perspective. Okay, if you have parents in the room or some of you, right? For example, I'm just being very stereotyped here. I am someone who absolutely horrible in color coordination. When you talk about a peach and a pink and a maroon and a red, I see red. I cannot differentiate nor find distinct differentiation between all this color. So I have close friends that would tell me that, hey, I like your peach T-shirt. I was like, that's not peach, it's pink. That's the reason why I buy a pink. I wanted a pink shirt. So apparently, I've been wearing a peach T-shirt, which is closer to orange than pink, for the past 3-4 years. But that kind of thing doesn't reflect on me. You could tell me all the things I want, right? But it's not my reality. It's not my perception. So asking questions allows that channel or platform or space for them to actually share, this is actually my thought. And me as a coach, I'm not judging you at all. If you think that's your perspective, that's your perspective. The end of the session is about, so knowing this, how can it be helpful to you? So the conversation always going back to it. Every session that you come to a coaching session supposed to make you a better person, and that should be the top priority of a coaching session, if you were to ask me.
No, I fully agree on that. It is just to help someone realize what it really means and what it can mean for someone. Again, that I think there's no right or wrong in certain things. It's how we perceive. But a coach is to really give you a different perspective. Because a coach's job when they come in is to give you the harsh truth. And sometimes the harsh truth is not something that you enjoy listening to, but you need to hear it. Sometimes the harsh truth can actually be a very beautiful truth. And I've experienced this before when someone actually told me that actually everything that I've done is the right thing. And I felt so relieved because that's really what I needed to hear. And if you recognize this and if you want to hear this, know that everyone at your workplace, everyone at home also want to hear the same.
Correct. And you touch a very good perspective where a lot of coaches will, to be honest, if they are not experienced enough, will try to avoid the emotion side of that. The emotion side in a coaching. So, like for example, if you look at to those who are a bit more familiar with coaching models, right? The grow model, for example, the Oscar stuff, for example, or even basic goal setting, for example, like SMART. We use SMART, right? Specific, measurables, and the rest of it. It's very much on a cognitive side. I will throw it back to everyone as well. You all write your so-called to-do list beginning of the year, right? Or you have a lot of Gantt charts and what to do, your proposal, your project outline, your milestones in your workplace. But there are certain times that you just can't deliver. And is that because you don't have enough clarity? Is that because you don't have enough resources? No, it's about the people, it's about me not able to. And the coaches, especially the experienced one, will find it more important to tap on that side, which is the emotion side. So my background as a positive psychology and also on the coaching psychology allows me to combine to have this sets of coaching questions, or even in a coaching sessions whereby I focus a bit more on the emotion side, the emotion intelligence side. So it's not just a buzzword. We actually have models for that. So if you're curious about it, you can just just PM me, drop me a message. I'll share a bit more because that is in that alone. It will take me a good half a day just to share that because it's really my thing.
Oh, that's good. I'm definitely curious about that. For those of you here, you know what to do. After this, we'll connect. I'll share with you how how you can get in touch with each of us here on this particular matter moving forward. I think it's so important that we actually have to look also at the emotional side. So we've been talking about, a couple of aspects so far. Those of you here, if you really enjoy what we've been sharing, let us know in the comments so that we know those are relevant for you. And do us a favor as well. Share this out with others, especially those of you here who are at workplace. Share this out to your colleagues, to your friends, because this is so important, where coaching itself has always been something a lot of people want to avoid. And I want to just call this out fairly to say, Malaysians usually, unless you're really aware of it, but typically Malaysians, they avoid this thing called coaching, right? You go to work and all that. We talk about coaching, but people don't do, because of so many stigma around this. You need to be an expert. You need to be great. You need to know everything. But really, in fact, I've met coaches who don't know everything, but what they have is just something, curiosity. It's this curiosity itself that really helps. And for all of us here, you can actually do coaching. Like I say, you can be a coach. You don't have to carry the title. If you're a manager, you're a supervisor, you're a team lead, the best thing that you can do at this point of time is just to be curious. And Edward say, what can we be curious on earlier is the emotional side, which is things that people don't bring up, because at work, we're so used to only think about the logical, the plans, the what we can do, the step by step, and all these goals. But there will be times where people feel something else, even when they look at a really nice goal. Yes, all of us here want to make more money. All of us here want to have more sales. All of us here want to have better relationships. If you can tell me one individual that doesn't want any of that, I would love to meet that individual and interview them. But here's the thing, even if they want all this, they're always held back. And why are they held back? It's simply because they feel something. It could be thoughts, it could be something else, but it's that feeling that stops them. Could be frustration, could be stress, overwhelm, worries, and stuff like this. And this is where, we at workplace, if we can just be a little bit more open to the emotional side and help someone else in that sense. And we're going to cover how we help after this, right? It's to be aware about what's really happening. People have different circumstances, backgrounds, challenges, or maybe some of us here are like still stunned. Right? I know we've been here like for 3 months into a lockdown in Malaysia. Globally, some other countries are now moving into it. Some have been longer. But there are some people who cope very differently. To them, 3 months or 1 month or 1 day, no difference. I still struggle. So for us as humans, not just a boss or anything, for us as humans, let's just relate to someone else and empathize to see from a different perspective. And how do we do this? Being curious and ask the questions, how are they doing, really helps in that sense. So now we want to go to the next level, right? What can we do? What are some practical things that we can actually do to help people in this situation? Whether it's an emotional side or psychology side, that is where Edward can provide us ideas.
I think one of the most important quotes that I learned, or statements that I learned about coaching, is that coaching is all. We always the quote sounds like this: coach the who, not the how. Coach the who, not the how. You focus on the person, not just about the whole process. Because Jeffro, you or other coaches or managers, you probably agree with me that if you are in front having a conversations with your downline or subordinates, they will give you all the necessary answers that makes them feel good and makes you feel good as well. So one of the quickest tips to change that, right, is that after especially for sales, let's just go into a very specific sales-related conversation. Sales is always about mindset, if you were to ask me. It was never about the techniques. They can give you all the best techniques, all the best scripts and whatnot. It's always about mindset. Because sales, you deal more with rejections. It's about resilience. It's about staying strong. It's about finding a meaning of why are you still doing it despite everyone saying no or ending your call, or you have double things but no one replies to you, that kind of emotion, So two questions that you can ask for managers, or even actually you can actually use that for parenting as well. I use that in my relationship and with any forms of my friendships as well. Every time after your meeting, especially for your sales meeting, sales targets, KPIs related, goals related meetings or conversation, and with these two questions, the first one is always to ask, first, how committed are you? So how committed are you on doing that? So a lot of times when we have a brainstorming meeting, we push a lot of things out, we write everything on the board. It looks beautiful. It looks like a great process flow. Looks like a great project, right? But if you want to go into them and specifically ask them, right, guys, I want to know, right, we have this on the board. How committed are you in doing this? You can rate 1 to 10. You can just give me a number. So the second question to ask is that, how motivated are you?
Oh, wow.
So a lot of times committed is something that you already have. So you are actually excited to do that. So committed comes in a lot on the cognitive side. For example, I'm committed lah, but you see, there are times that I need resources. They will tell you that, like, I'm motivated, but actually I need this to help you. So you know exactly what they need. If they give you a 6, for example, your follow-up question will be, okay, what will make it from 6 to a 7? Okay, again, if you are creative enough, right, you can also switch that particular emotion word. How positive are you with this project, for example? How
Wow.
excited are you with this project? Because a lot of times when we talk about nowadays, right, the economy focus on the user experience, UX. User experience are emotions. The feature makes you feel better. Okay, in terms of specs, right, I believe, let's just put it this way, objectively, iPhone might not have the best spec. But why they are one of the biggest brand? Because of the branding, and the branding's identity comes in emotions. We feel proud using that. We feel soft. Hey, no iPhone haters here, yeah. Just give me an example. Please don't bore me. But it's about the emotion. I feel that when I'm using iPhone, I feel cooler. I feel like a brand. It associates to performance, for example, efficiency. When I'm using my MacBook with my iPhone, it looks cool. So those are emotion questions, and these are the emotion questions that a lot of managers don't tap into. And I also want to tell you, some of the managers will come in and say that, but it's very awkward lah. Suddenly ask people, how do you feel, kind of thing. It's a litmus test for your team engagement, actually. That shows how close can you have deeper conversation with your colleague beyond as a colleague. Okay, and this probably goes back to your family as well. When was the last time you have a deeper conversation, not about paying the bills, not about changing the TV channel, not about what to eat for lunch, what's for grocery, but ask, how are you feeling today? When was the last time you asked this kind of question? We ask, how are you? We don't ask, how are you feeling today? Or how are you feeling? What has been better for you? Because those kind of question talks about directly, I want to know you as a who, not about how. And that is conversations that a lot of organizations are lacking, if you were to ask me. And that makes a difference between an engaged team versus a normal team. Because as cliche as it sounds, people does leave the organization because of manager. And you have people who say that even if the company is sucky and it's not very brilliant, if the manager is cool, it's a manager that I can learn from, a manager that respected me, the manager that cares about me, it's a manager that, or a leader that I want to follow. So that are some of the conversations that you can have spontaneously immediately right after this, actually.
Yeah, and I think that for all of us here, especially if you were here from the beginning, right? Let us know if there's something that resonates with you, if it's something that has been really helpful. I am taking down notes as well because I find that these are really great reminders. And just so that you know, we are all humans. We can know everything, but we may not remember everything in one go. So I find that sometimes I do need a little bit of reminder, and conversations like these really helps. Take this as a tip, or take this as an advice, go back to your team, go back to your family, have this conversation with them, and go beyond just like what Edward mentioned. Go beyond the bills, go beyond all the surface stuff, and go into like a little bit on the feeling. How are you feeling today? Are you excited? Or even going back to just one basic question, how are you coping? Right, could really trigger a whole different thing. And I think I've shared this before, but for those of you here who have not heard about this story, back in my office, previously, I actually just asked the same question: how are you feeling? You can ask, how are you coping? And within moments, one of my colleagues actually just broke down and shared how she was actually going through. And had I just choose to skip and smile, because most of us here always like to do this, right? We see someone, we just smile. We don't even say hello, how are you these days. So just smile and then we just go back to our. That is before MCO. So what I did very differently was that I asked, how are you feeling? And within moments, this person just pours out everything. And I'm not saying that you should do this so that everyone cries or pours out, but really when someone is able to share with you, can you imagine how nice it is to be able to express yourself because someone asked and it shows that someone cares? That's how I want the other person to feel, right? To really be able to open. And I feel that whether you're doing coaching or whether you're just being a friend, do this with your friends, do this with your family members, do this with your colleagues. You can do it online, offline, by the way. You don't have to always see someone in person. You can do it over a call, text, or video chat if you want to. And just ask them, how are you feeling? How are things been for you? And then keep quiet. The other typical Malaysian part, right, is, hey, how are you? And then I say everything. I blah out everything else.
Yeah, you are absolutely right on that. So when we talk about remote coaching, right? So I'm very conscious with the time as well. So what the key message that I want to share in terms of remote coaching? It's coach the who, not the how. They probably know what they need to do. It's all about the support they need. And especially when you are not able to talk or in a face-to-face setting, right? Conversations can be harder and can be more draining as well, can be very purposeful. Let's just put it this way. When you go into a Zoom, it's not a session where you pantry talk. You straight away go into the work. So it derives or the needs of people having that kind of affections, intimacy as a human. And remote coaching, as much as we talk about the technical part, for example, some of the coaching questions, what some of the expectation, I just believe that in a remote coaching session, especially, focus on the empathy or focus on the emotion. Sounds cliche, but you never know how powerful it is. And sometimes that particular statement can be a life-changing or even a life-saving questions, and everyone has their own challenge. Let's put it this way. When we talk about inclusivity, diversity, right? Everyone has their own challenge. And who are we to say that their challenge is smaller or bigger? The best thing that we can give, not just as a coach, as a person itself, is to give that particular space for them to be transparent enough, to be open enough to share their stories. And Jeffro, you probably agree, for someone to be in front of you to share, to be vulnerable and share their emotion so openly, right? It's also a good indicator that you are a trustful and a trustworthy person as well,
Yeah, yes. I mean, like what we mentioned earlier. So you want to know how closely knitted your team is, the engagement, whether it's a team or organization. See whether you're even comfortable in asking, how are you feeling? That's the first test. Second test is when you say that, I mean, you can feel comfortable. Whether people feel comfortable is a different case, right? So second stage is when you say that, how the other person responds to you. Does that person hold back information, or does that person say it out because they trust you or they feel comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really a task in this case. How can you really break apart? Let's say, for example, you're not feeling okay about saying it. So that means already a case where engagement may not be tight. I won't say it's not good. I'm just saying that may not be the best. how can we go about this? Edward, in your case, when someone hasn't gotten the comfortability of actually saying, how are you feeling? How would you advise to go around this?
A simple question or a tips to use is that you give them the space. It was a very good highlights that you say. A lot of times, right, when we ask a question, we tend to jump in as well. We tend to hijack conversations. So we want to say what we want to say. What will be very powerful is that when someone is literally in front of you, for example, crying in front of you, right, what you can do is to say that I'm here for you. I am here presently for you. If you need me, let me know. I'm giving you the space and the time. Simple as that. Because it's actually not as easy as we want to just to cry. So when they can cry, they will probably just want that space, just to tell you that I want to let you know that I'm here for you whenever you need me, and I will give you this space. So that will channel us into two different directions or two different results. The first one is that she will come back to you and continue to share more, and that's how you know that you are a trustworthy person, or having a better relationship with this particular person. The second one, she doesn't go back to you, but that particular session of probably crying or demonstrating or reflecting her emotions, give her a platform or a space to actually express her emotion. If she was to move forward to finding you, that will be better. Or else probably she just express it and she can move on. And that is already a great space for her, And so you never know. You never know. My personal tips is to really be there, especially even in coaching session. I can stay quiet for maybe complete silence for a minute or 2 minutes. Like really, I'm just there for you. You can cry, and it's absolutely fine with that.
Yeah. And okay, so then a follow-up question. Someone is crying. Now you have already said that. What can you do about this moment, right? Let's put it into that situation. Someone is crying.
Correct.
You already said that, I'm here for you. I give you space. Now, then that person is crying or sharing and you're just listening. What is the next thing to do? Because it can get awkward for some people who are not used to it, right? Got one person crying. What should I do next? I've said what I need to say. Then what?
For those who can handle that, you could just be there. You can just be in his or her vision, slightly away. So you don't be in your face. Like someone, if I'm crying, I wouldn't want someone to stare at me and say, I'm waiting for you to end and then share me story. So that's not appropriate as well. So you just have to make sure that that particular person's vision is something that you can see. Okay. Or else you can just gently ask, I think you probably need some space for yourself. I will excuse myself, but let me know if you need me. You can always find me. I want to assure you that you can. So that will be very helpful. You're giving that assurance to them as well. Two ways again. If you can handle that, be around the vision, but always goes back to the coaches wants. Because it's a coaching session is a coaching oriented based session. So if they need the space, gently say that, yep, I will give you the space. Let me know if you need me.
Well, I think that's amazing. So it's very important to also ask, like what you mentioned. So you don't want to assume, and the worst part is when someone is crying, you just walk out on them, right? Don't do that. You want to also let them know why you're moving away, whether you want to get a tissue, whether you're going to come back in a moment, or you just going to step aside. So I think that's a very important bit. I actually have one really intriguing question here, as I was thinking, because someone has actually asked me before. What if on the reverse side, I need to talk to someone. My manager is not a coach, or neither is he showing anything like that. How can I go about this? Yeah, what ideas do you have?
Of course, from a very professional textbook answer, look for a coach. But of course, if you really want to ask me, right, there's no right or wrong. Go back to someone that you're very comfortable sharing. It could be your friends, it could be a colleague, it could be your spouse. I mean, uh, very hard to say. I mean, I have friends that comes to me, uh, to specifically tell me that, hey Ed, I want to have a conversation with you as a friend, not as a coach. So
Oh,
that's when I will switch my mind and say that, look, I am just going to jump in with you, man. If you say your boss is cool, I am supporting you. I'm your best supporter.
all right.
But then that's when they actually able to share their stories. And of course, as a coach, you will throw a few coaching questions in between. But again, going back to their needs, specifically needs, there's not a right person or the best person to ask. If you want someone who can really smoothen your feelings, to ensure that your emotion needs is being addressed, find someone that you're comfortable with. Sounds cliche, sounds very simple, but that's what you can do. But if you need someone from a perspective whereby you want to grow, you want to really challenge yourself, I would really highly recommend you to have a conversation with a coach. Uh, there's so many coaches in the market. I always believe that the chemistry is very important. Go around, have a conversation with that. Either have a coffee, give them a call, ensuring that this is something that you're very comfortable with. Because coaches will know a lot about you, and you want to ensure that this is a person that you can be very transparent and let go your egos to talk with.
True. Wow. I guess that's very simple. And yes, for those of you who are here, it is simple because it is simple. The one thing that we always tend to do, and I realize when I say we're talking about Malaysians in general, or even a little bit broader Asians, that we are not so comfortable in just opening up. We're not comfortable in asking for help. There's only a small percentage of us that really does that. If you don't believe, when was the last time you asked for help? Right? Just ask yourself that. Right? When was the last time that you asked for help? Not for a logical thing, like can you help me pay a bill? But when was the last time we asked for help from an emotional side? Like we ask for support because we really need that. And I personally feel that we all can do a better job as individuals first to really just reach out to people. Don't always expect that miracles can happen, like things can be solved and all that. I think that lessen down any expectations, and as person that you want to reach out to someone that you can trust, someone that you look up to as well. That would also help, right? You don't want to look up to someone that you can trust but is in a worse off position than you, because I can tell you, well, when that person listens to also don't know whether listening fully to you or not, right? So I think that's also very important.
And a lot of times, right, I think one of the challenge to those who need help and they choose not to share with someone is because they think it could be a trouble for the listener. I can assure you that it's not true. It's definitely not true. You never will. You will be very positively surprised that the listener will actually feel good as well, knowing the fact that you trust them enough to share with them. So that is a limiting belief, if you were to ask me. And of course, you choose someone that you know that you can believe in, that your social support. That should be the only disclaimer.
Yeah.
You don't go around and say that I need help, right?
Of course. I mean, you're okay. So one thing, this is a word of advice for all of you here in 2020. Never just go and put up on social media, "I need help." A lot of help will come your way, and they may not necessarily be the help that you need. So just be discreet. I think you should do it privately. And talking about like privately, we have Eldon Lee who just came in and say, "Hey, but or pass."
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you,
glad it's
Eldon.
a plural. I'm glad it's a plural.
Yeah, well, and we've covered so many grounds today. We talk about the things that the differences between the coaches, the consultants, the therapists, the trainers as well, and I hope that this helps clarifies that point. We've also talked about what are the criteria or the skill sets or competency for a coach. Although I never explicitly ask about that, but we've definitely covered, what are the skills like listening, being present, being curious. Honestly, these are really, really simple things, because you can read up online and all that. It's the practice of it. And I feel that if everyone practice this, everyone can be a great coach. So it's just being human. The whole idea of coach is just being human enough for the other person, right?
Right.
You know, and we've covered remote coaching. It's really not that difficult. I want to just say that remote coaching is not difficult. It's a little bit more challenging because you have more technologies in place. But ultimately, it comes back to what Edward has actually mentioned earlier. We want to empathize with someone else. So instead of just jumping into work, let's talk about like emotional side. Have someone catered on the emotional side, and you will find that all the other conversation will go smoother. I cannot guarantee you this because it works slightly different with other people. I mean, Edward, you can correct me, but I would think as a guideline for everyone here, managers, the team leads, or someone who is working with remote workers, when you talk about emotions first and you clear that up, everyone is okay, and then you talk about work, things go in a more positive manner. In a smoother journey, and you will find that the working experience suddenly becomes slightly better, and people look forward to that.
Yep, you are right. Yeah, Zoom meeting to me is not the most interesting thing. I myself make it compulsory for me to have an emotional check-in every time, ensuring that we are still human first. Work later. I think that's something that, especially during remote MCO, where all of us are being stripped off in terms of the freedom. This is something that at least we can have more control on.
Yeah, that definitely, right. And everything that we've shared here are really practical because you can immediately start doing. Now, if you're wondering, yeah, today's Saturday, I won't talk with my colleagues. Tomorrow Sunday, Monday public holiday. It's fine. You know what you can do? Talk with your family members. Talk with your friends. Just reach out to them. If you can, just ask that question, and you can see for yourself, right, how it works. Just ask, how are you feeling today? And,
Correct. Simple as
and
that.
do this. Amazing. I can tell you, it will be an amazing thing. Okay, so if you have never asked that question for your parents, just let you know first that they might think that it would be very awkward, like there's something wrong with you, because traditionally Asian parents, we're not used to that, right? And then you suddenly ask, pa, ma, how are you feeling? They feel like, is there something wrong? Are you in trouble? Do you need
Usually, your parents probably ask you, yeah, do you need money? What did you do wrong this time?
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you have never asked your spouse before, after asking, you might just want to tell them that you're genuinely interested in knowing their well-being. Because if you've never asked such questions to your spouse or to your family members or friends, they might think that there's something wrong, and you don't want that. You don't want your good intention to be misinterpreted.
But yeah, you are right, actually, Jeffro. So that's what we call a litmus test. That shows how much or how less of this kind of conversations that you previously have. That is not a norm yet. We all talk about new norms during MCO, right? So it could be a new norm to you as well.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect time to really do that because, okay, so one thing I also want to say, we Asians, we're not so good at saying that face to face, right?
Correct.
Because feeling side, it's something very different compared to like Westerners. Westerners, they say it all the time. They are more open to us generally. So at this point of time where you are behind a keyboard, it's safer. You're behind a screen. You can use that moment to test it out first, build that sort of confidence, build that kind of familiarity with those words, typing those words, saying those words. And then later on, when you go back to work, say it in person. The delivery in person is so different compared to a delivery by text, right?
And that's
They hear
absolutely
you.
right. You're building a platform as well. You don't straight away jump into face to face. It can be really scary. Let's put in the sales perspective. Starting with sending email, WhatsApp, then gradually cold calls and face to face. It's a very gradual growth. So you're absolutely right. To me, it's just doing something is better than not doing anything. And you want a result as a coach, it's very we will always say that just be consistent, small steps will gradually be big steps.
Yeah, and it's true. And when it comes to emotion, it's not like sales. Sales, you want to aim big. Emotion, you cannot aim big. Like if you're not feeling well and then you want to jump to feeling excited, it's a huge thing. And you just have to understand that it takes time to go there, and you just have to take baby steps to go there as well, right?
Correct.
And like what Ed would say, one text a day, reach out. If you like, you can do via email to your clients, to your colleagues. Maybe a bit weird,
Yeah, you're right.
but a good start.
Yep,
Yeah.
you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, we have Mei Feng saying that it's a very practical advice to connect emotionally and relationally before jumping straight into work conversations. Absolutely, and this is the best time that you want to do that, because we all have one particular topic that we can talk about day and night, and it's still relevant because we are in this moment. The one thing that we are all in globally, no matter what human or where we stay, is basically this whole COVID-19 thing. And start off the question with, how are you feeling?
Yep, that will be a very good start and also a very good ending, right, Jeffro?
Yeah, definitely, right? Because we are already at a 1 hour and 20 minutes. And as you can tell, these are things that we can go on and on and on. And the topic is huge. It leads to everywhere. Emotional side, there is no boundaries, there's no borders that we cannot go into. So amazing that we've also hit this part. I really want to acknowledge for those of you here who are staying, who are still here with us, throughout this entire 1 hour plus. And we don't want to take too much more time of your Saturday morning. We hope that it has been really useful so far and really insightful, and gave you some ideas to what you can do. If you found this really helpful, please let us know in the comments. Type yes or type 1 or something like that. Let us know that it has been helpful. Reason being is we want to know as well, what are the things that, what are all the stuff that we've been sharing, are they really relevant for you? I know that they are for me, and possibly also for Edward, it is for him. But I want to know whether it is relevant for those of you who are here with us.
Yep. Definitely share with us some of your own stories as well. You never know, again, your stories can be really brings positive impact to other people as well. Because again, like what Jeffro has been saying, everyone can be a coach, and everyone has that particular competency to not just be a coach, but be a better being. Better being.
Yeah, definitely. And if you want to actually reach out to Edward, Edward, how do people reach out to you? I know LinkedIn. Is there anywhere else?
LinkedIn will be good. LinkedIn will be good. I will just put that on the group later, so you can just go for me, or else you can just drop a message on the comment below, and we can just connect on Facebook as well.
Yeah, great. So for those of you here who have found it valuable, please connect with us. We are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn. We do share a lot of materials as well. So I think you can actually just pick out 1 or 2 things from the many things that we have already been sharing. And I hope that this video has really, really helped all of you here. Chloe says, nice sharing. Eldon Lee says, thank you for sharing. Coach Edward, annyeong.
Annyeong. You just remind me, probably today will be a Korean dinner day.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Korean fried chicken is awesome. Yep.
True. Do you cook at home, or do you go out for?
I do cook at home, but I have a different menu as compared to my mom. I'm better in cooking Western food, the steaks and the mashed potatoes. So if you want a fancier dinner or a date night with my mom, then I'll probably get some real good wines and steaks. Most of the time, kitchen is my mom's place. Unless you just go in to wash plates, you don't want to go in.
Definitely. So Mei Feng says thanks. Thanks to us. Thank you, Mei Feng. All right. So we're not gonna take too much time. We've already come to the end of the segment. Let me just ask, Edward, do you have any last few words or advices for our friends here today?
I just probably want to share that that's a research done by one of the NGOs in Malaysia that shares that out of 1,000 sample, right, close to 50 to 55% of them self-reported they are depressed. Again, I won't be the most qualified person to talk from the mental health perspective, but do reach out to people who can talk to. Us as coaches, we always believe that there's a need to address this particular point of view. Not because when you talk about flourishing, it's also not just about your performance and in terms of the work. It's not just about reaching your goal. But we want to reach your goal in terms of making you as a better person, emotionally, mentally, spiritually as well. So do reach out to people. This will be another good moment in our life to be more socially because when people talk about social distance, I again and again saying that I don't believe that it's a physical distancing, socially or social support, and trust me, a lot of people will resonate very well on that when it comes to social support.
All right. Well, I think that is right. I never quite like the term social distancing. Physical distancing, I fully agree. Social distancing can be interpreted in many cases, and sometimes
Right.
it gets interpreted in a negative stance,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't help that, right? That's just the way everyone functions. All right, cool. So we've closed in there. We are nearly at 1 hour and a half on
I
this.
know, right? Time flies.
Time flies. Good conversations here. And I hope everyone enjoys here. If you have any other questions, reach out to us separately, or you can just type in here. All your comments here, I will actually address. And if you have any questions that you've placed in here during this session or after this session as well, I will make sure that I will answer to that, or I will actually provide you with references. I can't guarantee that I have every resources myself, but yeah. Right. So it's been a great session.
You can, alternative as well, right, Jeffro? Before you're completely ending, as a coach, I always ask this question as a trainer as well, right, or facilitator. Do share with us what's your key learning as well. Something that you realize that it's something that I realized that I either serve as a better reminder, or even if you learn something, key takeaway, just put it on a group chat. To those who can't make it, at least if they read your comments, they know what's happening on that session.
True. All right. So for those of you here still with us, please let me know in the comments what are your key learnings today. I'd love to hear your point of view, and we'll connect with you again. Right. So reach out to us both on Facebook, LinkedIn, and until then, it's me, Jeffro, and that's Edward. We're gonna sign off right now. Bye.
Bye. Korean 안녕하세요. Right.
All right. So.